My family traditionally passes down family names as first names. I was named after two grandmothers. Both had the same first name. My brother is named after an uncle, and my sister is named after a cousin who died in infancy. My mom is named after her great-grandmother. Her siblings were named after different aunts/uncles/grandparents. My grandma was named after a sibling of hers who died in infancy, and her living siblings were named after other family members. I have cousins named after family members. My mom has cousins named the same way. The relatives do not need to be dead to be considered. But if we have a recently deceased family member, it's considered the correct thing to use those names. I always went by my middle name. I like it far better. It was a name my dad wanted me to have, and nobody else in the family has it, which is a bonus for me. And because of this, I always wanted to break the tradition, something my husband is eternally grateful for, because his style of names, like mine, are not like my family's style of names. We had boy/girl twins 2 weeks ago, and we chose to name them names we loved versus family names. Our daughter is Piper and our son is Robin. We chose not to give them family names as middle names and went with names we felt worked for them, but that we also loved as well. My family were upset, and especially because the last of my great-uncles died recently, and it was expected my son would be Gerald after him. My daughter was expected to be Jennifer or Patricia after my aunts who have the least number of kids named after them. I had told my family ahead of time we were not going to follow the tradition, but clearly they didn't believe me because we got a lot of negative comments from my side about disrespecting my family and breaking their hearts with the snub toward my great-uncle. I told them the twins are our children and others could choose to continue the tradition. My dad was the only person not upset. He told me he was glad I did what I wanted. He also knows I prefer to use my middle name instead of my first name. He was forced into continuing the tradition from Mom's family with all of us, so his support means a lot. He could back up my mom for the sake of it. Some of my family have made some pretty hurtful comments, and I have taken some space. But it also makes me feel guilty that they're so angry and hurt at my decision.
Comment 1. Okay, so I can relate a lot. You are NTA. Names are important and they are your kids. How would your family react if you had named them after members of your husband's family? If they would have the same reaction, I would call them hypocrites. On a funnier side, I will say if your kids hear one of these people complaining about not having someone named after them, they may get it in their head they can help and name a pet after that person, like I did, and trust me, that will be hysterical to some and really pee off others. Comment 2. An accounting professor told my class not to name your children after someone else. Makes it too easy for theft of identity and for credit mix-ups. An ex-boyfriend of mine was the fourth, and when he ran his credit, some of his grandfather's credit cards showed up by mistake. I don't believe in naming children after relatives because they are their own person. NTA. Comment 3. My father named my brother a junior while my mother was asleep in the hospital. We hardly ever saw him while growing up. Cut to adulthood, and my brother told the police he was the senior, so when he skipped court, our dad got arrested. Took him a while to get it straightened out. He reaped what he sowed. Give your kids their own name. They deserve to have their own identity and not be some vanity trophy. 28F. I just gave birth to me and my husband's first, and likely last, child 4 days ago. I'm so emotionally exhausted. But not for the normal reasons, I don't think. My husband has been stressing me out since I went into labor. Please tell me if this is just hormones. I truly can't even think properly cause I'm just so tired. Might be long, I'm sorry. So, I go into labor at 2 a.m. He takes his sweet-ass time driving me to the hospital, an hour away. Even stops to grab himself a coffee. My water breaks 20 minutes from the hospital. I'm in an excruciating pain and panicked because I'm still in the vehicle and I can tell that I'm so close to giving birth. I was having contractions lasting 33-ish seconds, with exactly 1 minute between. He panics when my water breaks and pulls over and calls the ambulance, and we end up having to wait 10 minutes for them, instead of him just driving me the rest of the way. As soon as I get in the hospital room, he starts losing it. He is sobbing, full hysterics, and being so loud about it. Keeps saying things like I can't lose her, insinuating that I was going to die. It essentially made me have a very difficult delivery because now I'm panicked thinking I'm going to die. I deliver our daughter 22 minutes after arriving at the hospital. I eventually call my mother and ask her to come see me. She comes in with my siblings, 16-year twins, and within maybe 10 minutes, my husband is acting pissed off. Says he's stepping outside. Comes back in 40 minutes later. My mom and siblings leave. He then starts jumping down my neck about how disrespectful my mother is for even showing up when she knows that I need sleep. Then he's badgering me about eating something despite me telling him several times I'm not hungry. So he gets irritated again, telling me repeatedly you need to eat something and getting more and more stern as he's speaking. Eventually I gathered that he was hungry and he felt guilty eating when I hadn't eaten, and instead of just saying that, he just got an attitude. Then he fell asleep. Every single time he woke up and I was still awake, he got irritated again. You need to get some damn sleep. We get discharged the next day, so since we have been home he's stressing me out even more. If the baby spits up, he's immediately saying we need to go to the hospital. He has been trying to force feed me. Literally sits beside me trying to feed me when I quite literally cannot keep a lot down right now, and he knows that. But yesterday I fell asleep. I had the baby beside me in the bassinet. He wakes me up and says, "Babe, she's been screaming for like 10 minutes. And it makes me feel bad, but then again, he was in the room when I fell asleep, so where TF was he when she was screaming? He apparently went to take a nap on the couch. But he came home yesterday and I was taking a nap and he says, under his breath, must be nice, wish I could sleep." I told him at this point that I'm the one who's up all night breastfeeding the baby while he sleeps soundly. I do all nightly changings as well. I have the baby all day long, he works. Don't even start. He goes, "No one asked me how I have been feeling since the baby was born." I told him I needed him to leave for a week or something because this entire time he has been pushing me into a weird state of I don't ducking like you because of how invasive and demanding you're being, and I'm just really starting to dislike you at this point. Which he already knew, and he just kept pushing. He says I'm an R and that he's stressed too and that he's just looking out for me by trying to force me to eat and whatever. I just need space. Comment 1. Well, all I can say is tell him if he doesn't stop, one of you has to leave for a bit. Your mother is just as much the baby's grandmother as his is. Maybe a few weeks of therapy would be good for him, you, or both of you, just to get advice from an unbiased person. However, the fact that he was on the phone imitating you in labor tells me he is taking this way too far. I've never heard of a man telling friends/family what their wife sounded like during labor. Comment 2. NTA, he is literally doing the opposite of what a supportive partner should be doing. All he is doing is stressing you out and probably giving you more chores by being obtuse and unhelpful. Maybe he can be respectful and fix his behavior with some couples counseling, but he needs to go. Whether that is for a week or forever is up to him. Comment 3. All I hear in this story is, "Hi, please meet my husband who is showing me now he'll be an abusive husband and father soon." People react sometimes under stress, and those often call for forgiveness. We all do it sometimes. But his irrational and controlling ways going on day after day is him showing his true colors. All about me. Pay attention to me. Do what I say. What I say is right because I deem it so. My opinion is fact, follow it. Welcome to the real version of what you married. May want to give some consideration to that. My stepsister Ren has always been competitive with me. It was mostly fueled by her mom, who was always extremely competitive between the families, but Ren kept it up. I'll admit I fed into it a bit when we were teenagers, but I grew out of it. She never did. She goes out of her way to try to one-up me, and she thinks everything I do is to one-up her, which isn't the case. That's the background to the main issue. Ren is getting married in November, and she's been planning the wedding for over a year. I got engaged a month ago. My fiancé works an extremely high-pressure job, and because of the nature of his job, Next year and the year after will be incredibly stressful. It's part of the reason he proposed when he did. I don't want to wait 2 years to get married, so I got in touch with a wedding planner who was able to work something out so that we can get married in August. It will be an extremely small wedding, a reception dinner of about 20 people over one weekend. This is in contrast to the 150-person traditional wedding that Ren has planned. Ren is livid that we're planning to get married before her. She knows the reasons, but she still insists that I've planned this to upstage her wedding. She is giving her dad no end of shit for putting money towards my wedding and helping me to humiliate her, her words. She is also causing trouble amongst mutual friends she has with my fiancé. This is not a huge deal because they're not wanting to get involved, but it was extremely embarrassing because she announced the date of our wedding before we did. My mom and her dad are now hinting that maybe we should move the wedding. They keep saying maybe a winter wedding, I guess after Ren's, would be better, and that it would be nice if the family could attend both weddings with everyone on good terms. My stepbrother has also said that while he knows I didn't do it on purpose, because of past issues, this will be extremely hard for Ren to get past. He also said I was naive for thinking that just because my wedding is different from hers that she would let it go. He may be right about that. I still don't really want to change the date of the wedding. I don't think doing it in the winter will appease Ren, and to have to wait over a year just because of her childish vendetta seems grossly unfair. But I don't like being the one to rock boat, and I do sometimes feel a bit sorry for Ren. Maybe this isn't the time to take a stand. I really don't know if I'm in the wrong here. Comment 1. NTA. It's your wedding date and you have a genuine reason for doing it now. Also, if your mom and stepdad are already hinting that you should move your wedding, there's also the chance of them saying they won't help with financing the wedding if you don't change the date. Do your wedding at your planned date and maybe not invite your stepsister to avoid drama. With the way things are, I doubt she'll grow out of being spoiled and your family is enabling it. OP comment. The money my stepdad is contributing isn't a lot in the grand scheme of the cost, and we don't need it. He insisted on offering something as father of the bride, and we accepted to make him feel included, since my dad also chipped in. They haven't outright asked me to change the date, and I don't think they will. I think they would just like it if I came to the decision myself. They won't push because they know it's not fair. But then I don't feel it's fair that they have to deal with fallout of this situation. I, 39M, am dating someone, 33F, and have been for the last 3 months. Things are going well until the topic of my 40th birthday came up. Next year I turn 40. And I've never taken an actual vacation. I've extended work trips to do something fun where I am. I've traveled to visit friends or family. Always just for a long weekend, never more than 3 days total. I want to take a week and travel purely for recreational purposes. My criteria is that the trip needs to be at least a week and be international. I've also worked hard to get my finances in shape since my 20s. And now I have a decent business and some money set aside, and I feel like I'm ready for a trip, and next year would be a great opportunity as it is a milestone birthday. My girlfriend is great. She works hard and supports herself. But she doesn't make as much money and, most importantly, is currently saddled with around $20,000 in credit card debt arising from a period of unexpected unemployment she had in the past that forced her to burn through savings and live on credit cards. When the topic of this trio came up, she first asked if she could go. I said sure. She then asked if we could go to Vegas. I told her about my desire for this to be an international trip. Then she expressed concern over if she could afford it while at debt. I told her I'd be willing to cover our lodging and, depending on where we go, help her pay for airfare. Because we haven't been dating long, I don't feel comfortable paying her whole way and feel she should contribute financially to come along. She then told me she didn't feel she could afford to cover meals plus half airfare even if I went somewhere relatively cheap. I was thinking possibly Caribbean, where trip flights are running typically under $500. So I said that I understood, but I also have been wanting to do this milestone birthday thing for a while now, and I still intend to go even if just by myself and would only be gone a week. She became upset that I would travel without her and it caused a bit of a fight. My friends and family are split. On the one hand, some point out how many things I wanted to do but didn't get to do because my ex refused to let me and so I should go forth with or without her. On the other, some are saying it is cruel of me to be planning a vacation in front of a person who is trying to pay off large amounts of debt anyway. I can see both sides and just want to know. Comment 1. This is purely an opinion, but I think it's 10 times more understandable for things you had planned before you began dating and are still in your first year. I feel like that first year, if she wants to join you for a pre-planned trip, it should be 100% her responsibility to cover half. You are already being pretty generous. As said above, it's also not like you planned while she was in your life, so it's not that you planned to not include her. Comment 2. To say it's cruel to leave a GF of 3 months behind for a 1-week vacation is just insane. The thing about milestones is that you never know if you're actually going to reach them. Like, what if you make a plan to go on a big trip when you're 50 and you don't get to live that long? You've been planning this your whole life. You deserve it. If your GF is making a big deal out of this, I'd look deeper into this relationship and what you're really getting out of it. 100x NTA. Comment 3. As someone who missed my 30th dream vacation to Hawaii because my BF failed to save his money for 18 months when I had saved. Go on this trip. NTA. You will regret it for years to come if you don't go. She needs to get over herself or really save to make it work. That's life. You can't be punished for her lack of stability.